You ask yourself, why does silver do what it is? Why isn't it performing? Why is gold doing this and silver isn't? Why is it being stepped on? Why? Well, why are 8 banks shorting this when China's flying around the globe buying unrefined silver and India is buying 10 times the amount that is available for sale in COMEX and 2.5 times the amount that's available on the LBMA? Why?
If they actually put it on a proper gold exchange standard, in other words, you could exchange your rubles for gold at any one moment, then those interest rates would fall, and they would eventually fall to somewhere around about 3, maybe even less.
How far the way through the bull market we are, my experience has been that when the generalist investor buys into the precious metals narrative, that's when silver leads. Until then, when it's still a fear market, gold leads. The point of all this is don't, again, buy into the silver market with a short-term narrative.
In today's episode, 3 financial experts, Alasdair Macleod, Andy Schectman, and Rick Rule, shared their insights on the latest developments in the commodities market. Alasdair Macleod, known for his deep understanding of precious metals, highlighted the recent volatility in gold and silver prices. He pointed out that ongoing geopolitical tensions and economic uncertainty have driven investors toward these safe haven assets, leading to increased demand and fluctuating prices. Andy Schectman discussed the challenges in supply chains, particularly for silver. He emphasized that strong physical demand, coupled with strained supply lines, is causing premiums to rise. This trend reflects a growing investor concern about currency devaluation and economic instability, prompting many to seek security in tangible assets like silver and gold. Rick Rule, a veteran investor, broadened the discussion by focusing on the overall commodities landscape. While precious metals are capturing headlines, he believes there are significant opportunities in sectors like energy and agriculture. However, he cautioned investors to be selective as the current market environment requires careful consideration of both risks and rewards. We watched hours of footage to bring you this compilation of clips so you don't have to. Hit the like button, smash the subscribe button, and turn on notifications so you do not miss out our daily recaps. Enjoy the episode.
And he said, look, China is flying all around Latin America, and they are paying way more than the West will pay for unrefined silver in concentrate and doré form, and then shipping it back and refining it there. Well, that doesn't come off of an exchange. That is, and China's the largest producer of silver in the world, and they've just became a second largest producer of silver, largest of gold, but they just became, over the last few months, a net importer. These countries are viewing commodities the way we've been talking about, the way that they would, and that the way that they are, and the West doesn't tell anyone, and so no one understands how significant this really is. But if it were so archaic, if it were so underperforming, then, and I keep coming back to Ed Steer's graph, that he showed, where 8 banks hold the largest concentrated short position in silver of any commodity ever traded in COMEX history. Why? Silver is more important than the West is leading on to, and that is why you see China flying around the world buying unrefined silver and shipping it back. That's why you see India buying 700-800 thousand metric tons over the last 3-4 years. This is a situation where silver and gold are far more valuable than the currencies that purchase it. Much of the world understands this. We don't, and to try and play games and try and bottom feed and get lucky, it's not something that I think will go over very well, especially with such a small participation of the U.S. public. If gold and silver are doing what they have been doing, let's forget about silver because it's been held down. But look at gold, and silver will surpass gold in percentage terms, I believe, before it's all said and done. But if gold is doing what it's doing with positive real yield, forget about the nonsense out of the BLS and all that stuff, but a positive real yield, a strong dollar, and waning participation by the West, what happens when that changes? What happens now that we're pivoting and we're going to lower rates and we're going to weaken the dollar and we're going to reignite inflation? And, does the public wake up to this and start buying? It's rocket fuel. But much of what we see in the metals market is illusionary, unfortunately, because it's the antithesis of the system that has been allowed to rise unabated versus gold and silver, which have been stepped on. And although they continue to move, I would argue stepped on to the point where they have not been allowed to fully express themselves to their real potential. Even gold, which has outpaced the S&P 500, and doubled the performance of the 10-year Treasury. Gold's 9.9% per year. It's up 20% this year. It's beating the tech industry. Where the hell is the mainstream media?
I'm almost always early because I have a very rational mind. I believe if A is true and B is true and C is true and the logical consequence of D is D, I confuse the words imminent with inevitable. And I suspect I'm early in the uranium trade. But the truth is that uranium has paid me such extraordinary rents that if I'm a year and a half early, it doesn't matter. I suspect that my portfolio of junior uranium stocks has a 3 or 4 bagger left in it. Let's suppose I had to wait 3 years for a 3 bagger. Would that be a terrible outcome? I don't think so. For the people who are frustrated with their high quality uranium juniors, if your portfolio is causing you trauma, then sell. The essence of wealth is enhancing your sense of well-being. If you're not prepared to be a contrarian, buy short-term treasuries or something. Just understand that if you're selling that portfolio of high-quality juniors in the next couple of months, you're likely selling some of it to me.
You ask yourself, why does silver do what it is? Why isn't it performing? Why is gold doing this and silver isn't? Why is it being stepped on? Why? Well, why are 8 banks shorting this when China's flying around the globe buying unrefined silver and India is buying 10 times the amount that is available for sale in COMEX and 2.5 times the amount that's available on the LBMA? Why?
In today's news recap, silver looks ready to rip. Last Friday, United States Federal Reserve Chair Jerome Powell said the time has come to begin lowering interest rates, a process that will likely begin at the Fed's September 17 to 18 meeting. Markets are widely anticipating a 25 basis points cut or even 50 points if the economy looks weak and needs a stronger monetary boost. More reductions could follow before year's end. If the Fed follows through, it will cause bond yields to weaken further, the dollar to weaken more, and commodity prices to strengthen. When positive real interest rates, which favor bond investors, turn negative, it will especially affect gold and silver prices to the upside. Spot gold set a record last week on Powell's dovish comments. Gold's rally, which started in mid-February, is underpinned mostly by increased geopolitical risks, central bank buying, and slowing ETF sales. Silver has gained mostly due to buying in India, China, and so-called paper silver. Investors in July showed a renewed interest in silver ETFs, which had $300 million in inflows following 2 months of outflows totaling $1 billion, according to BlackRock's latest global ETP flows report via ETF.com. Now we'll show you the best clips of the latest interview, but first, subscribe and turn on notifications so you do not miss out our daily recaps. Enjoy the episode.
Yeah, until Bretton Woods, basically currencies, international currencies were backed by gold to a greater or lesser degree. So really, this is, with the Americans' dollar, this is the first time you've had a currency lasting for decades without any anchor in terms of value on an international basis. Okay, so this is very, very different. I think that from China's point of view, it makes no sense at all to take on that mantle. In other words, the next fiat currency, if you like, which the world uses. I mean, I don't know what their thinking is, but I would, if I was asked by the Chinese what my view is, I would say, put it on a proper gold standard. Then it really doesn't matter, because the future of your currency in terms of how it's used and all the rest of it will come and go with your influence around the world, not with the management of your currency, which is really where America has gone horribly wrong. And this is why I think China has accumulated a lot more gold in secret than publicly declared as reserves on the People's Bank's balance sheet. They've been doing this since 1983, when legislation was put in place for the People's Bank of China to operate in markets, acquiring gold and silver on behalf of the nation, the state, the Communist Party, whatever. And ever since then, they stepped up their mining output and rapidly became the world's number one gold miner by output. Stepped up the refining, which they kept very much under state control, and banned effectively any exports of gold. So it's all been accumulating. I mean, I say it's sort of China's Hotel California for gold. You go in, but you can't get out. Yeah. And that's basically what happens. It's the only sort of small window in there is Hong Kong. And that is, it allows visitors from the mainland to go into Hong Kong, buy gold, jewelry, small ingots, whatever, and carry them over the border. And they're just allowed to do that. And it allows them to evade any sales tax on gold jewelry. So that's about the only loophole in it. But again, you see, it's all about getting the gold into China. They've even advertised for their citizens, go and buy gold, it's good for you, or whatever the byline is. So they do understand that gold is money and the rest is credit. The Russians understand this as well. And I think the only reason that they haven't started putting their currencies onto gold standards is they don't want to be blamed for bringing down the rest of the world, which is essentially what would happen if they did that. I mean, just imagine what would happen to the faith and credit in the US dollar, in the euro and all. I mean, the euro could put itself on a gold standard because some of the major countries actually do have substantial reserves.
Because they know what we're doing. It's the exact same thing as the guy said in 2015 who runs the Shanghai Exchange. When China is allowed to speak at the table, the real price of gold will be known. It's the same thing as the guy who is now running the BRICS Grain Exchange. We produce more grain than the West does, and we cannot control the price. It's all controlled on COMEX, but this new grain exchange will change that. They know what we're doing with the metals, and they're beating us at our own stupidity. And if the public really knew just how stupid we are being by doing this, maybe there would be a little bit of a pushback. But you guys all out there know more than Fox News and the people who are supposedly trying to tell the public what's happening. So maybe that's by design. But the point of all of this is that silver is, to me, the most undervalued asset on the planet, and importantly so much so that 8 Western banks feel it's relevant to short it to the degree of the largest, and the top 4: gold, silver, platinum, palladium. I mean, there's a lot involved. These are monetary metals. Silver happens to be also strategic, but these are metals that speak to the weakness of the bond market, of the currency, to the illusion of strength. It's pulling the curtain back behind the wizard, and it's a frail old man who's at 123% debt to GDP, broken, insolvent, and wayward. And so that's why they have to do this, but they're getting beat at their own game, because these countries are way more sophisticated and motivated and wealthy enough to stand for delivery, and they'll keep doing it. And that's why they're not bitching, because they're the ones.
What do you think of the 3 experts' opinions? Do you think they're right? Are you buying other commodities besides gold and silver, like Rick Rule, or are you just sticking with precious metals? Share your honest opinion in the comment section down below, and watch this video right here because you'll love it. I'll see you on the other side.